Have you ever noticed that school somehow managed to teach us everything except how to handle money? We learned about ancient wars, chemical bonds, and the square root of 81. But not once did anyone sit us down to explain credit scores, compound interest, or how to build wealth that could actually change our lives. It's almost ironic. We spent years memorizing facts we'll never use again, while the one subject that controls nearly every part of adult life was completely ignored. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Only half of American adults can demonstrate basic financial literacy. That means, statistically, if you're in a room with 10 people, 5 of them have no real idea what they're doing with their money. And that's not even counting the ones who think they do. According to surveys, the average American correctly answers less than half of basic money questions. In other words, most people are literally failing the most important test in life, how to manage their finances. My name is Mike Compound, and I've spent years studying one simple question. Why do some people build lasting wealth while others spend their entire lives struggling from paycheck to paycheck, even when they earn roughly the same income? The answer isn't luck. It's not about being born rich, and it's not even about how much money you make. The real difference, the thing that quietly separates the successful from everyone else, is financial literacy. That's what we're going to change today. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly where you stand financially, how to create a plan that actually works for your situation, and how to start building wealth even if your bank account doesn't look impressive right now. We'll cover everything from realistic budgeting to emergency funds, debt payoff strategies, and investing basics that don't require a PhD in economics. We'll even touch on the timeless debate, should you rent or buy your home? But unlike most financial advice videos that assume everyone watching earns 6 figures and lives in a fancy condo, we're keeping it real. This is about real people, real budgets, and real struggles. Whether you're drowning in student loans or just trying to stop living paycheck to paycheck, what you'll learn here will actually apply to your life. Not some fantasy scenario where everyone drives a Tesla and invests $2,000 a month. So if you've ever felt confused, overwhelmed, or even a little ashamed about money, relax. You're not broken. You were simply never taught the rules of the game. And once you understand them, everything changes. Because money isn't just about numbers, it's about freedom. It's about the ability to make choices without fear, to take risks without panic, and to sleep at night knowing you're in control of your future. That's the journey we're starting together right now. And if you're ready to finally take control of your financial life, make sure to subscribe to Mike Compound, because your future self will absolutely thank you for it. Now let's begin with the most uncomfortable, yet most powerful, step of all. Understanding where you actually stand financially. Because if you don't know your starting point, it's impossible to build a map to where you want to go. Most people assume they sort of know their finances, but when pressed for real numbers, they freeze. So let's fix that. We'll break it down into 3 key numbers that reveal your complete financial picture, your net worth, your monthly cash flow, and your financial runway. Once you understand these 3, you'll have absolute clarity about your money for the first time in your life. Ready? Let's start with your net worth, and I promise this isn't as scary as it sounds. Before you can move forward financially, you need to know exactly where you are. It's like trying to get directions to a destination without knowing your current location. You'll just keep wandering in circles. So let's make it simple. Your financial life can be summed up in 3 powerful numbers: your net worth, your monthly cash flow, and your financial runway. Together, these tell the full story of your financial health. Let's start with net worth, the single most accurate snapshot of your overall financial position. To calculate it, add up everything you own: your checking and savings accounts, retirement funds, car, home, if you own one, and even assets like collectibles that have real market value. Then subtract everything you owe: credit card balances, student loans, car loans, mortgages, and yes, even that $500 you still owe your cousin from last Christmas. The number you end up with is your net worth. Now, don't panic if it's smaller than you expected, or even negative. You're not alone. According to the Federal Reserve, the median net worth for Americans under 35 is less than $39 million. Between 35 and 44, it jumps to around $130,000, and between 45 and 54, it's roughly $240,000. These numbers aren't meant to discourage you. They're meant to give you perspective. Most people are far behind where they'd like to be, and that's okay. What matters is that you now have a clear baseline to build from. Next comes your monthly cash flow, arguably the most important day-to-day number in your entire financial life. Cash flow simply means how much money you have left after paying your expenses each month. The equation is simple. Income, expenses, the cash flow. If the result is positive, you're building momentum. If it's negative, you're digging a hole. And if it's exactly zero, you're treading water, living paycheck to paycheck with no room for emergencies or progress. Here's a quick exercise that'll change how you see your money forever. Track every single dollar you earn and spend for one full month. Every single one. It sounds tedious, but it's eye-opening. You'll quickly notice where your money is quietly disappearing. Subscriptions you forgot about, small daily purchases that add up, or impulse buys that don't actually improve your life. Most people don't have a spending problem. They have a blind spot problem. Now let's say you find that you're spending less than you earn. Maybe you have $300 left over at the end of the month. That might not sound life-changing, but here's the math that'll blow your mind. Investing $300 every month at an average return of 8% turns into over $460 in 30 years. That's the magic of consistency and compound growth, and it all starts with understanding your cash flow. Finally, we have the third piece of the puzzle, your financial runway. This is how long you could survive if your income stopped tomorrow. To calculate it, divide your total liquid savings, money you can access quickly, like your checking or savings account, by your monthly expenses. For example, if you spend $3,000 per month and have $9,000 in savings, your financial runway is 3 months. Most experts recommend having between 3 and 6 months' worth of expenses saved, but even a single month of savings puts you ahead of nearly 4% of Americans. According to the Federal Reserve, 37% of adults couldn't cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money or selling something. That's a terrifying statistic, but it also means that by simply building a 1-month safety cushion, you've already placed yourself ahead of millions of people financially. When you know your net worth, cash flow, and runway, you gain total clarity. Maybe your net worth is negative because of student loans, but your cash flow is strong. Maybe your net worth looks decent, but your runway is short. Each situation requires a different strategy, and we'll tackle that next. Because now that you know where you stand, it's time to create a financial plan that actually works. And that begins with one crucial question. What are you really trying to achieve with your money? Now that you know your numbers, your net worth, your cash flow, and your runway, it's time to turn that awareness into action. But before we dive into spreadsheets and budgets, let's talk about something deeper. Why you're doing this in the first place. Because setting financial goals without understanding why you want them is like driving with no destination. You'll burn fuel, but you'll never arrive anywhere meaningful. Most people approach financial goals completely backward. They pick arbitrary numbers. I want to save $10,000, or I want to pay off my debt. But they never connect those goals to the life they actually want. Real success starts by asking, what kind of life do I want my money to create? Maybe it's the security of never stressing about an unexpected expense again. Maybe it's the freedom to leave a job you hate and take one you love, even if it pays less. Maybe it's the ability to retire early, travel, or simply live without financial anxiety. Once you define that vision, money becomes a tool, not the end goal. Here's where people who actually achieve their goals separate themselves from those who don't. They create specific, measurable, and realistic targets with clear timelines. Instead of saying, I want to save more money, say, I want to save $15,000 for a house down payment within 18 months. Instead of saying, I want to get out of debt, say, I want to pay off $20,000 in credit card debt within 2 years. When your goals are specific, they become actionable. When they're vague, they remain fantasies. And just as important, your goals need to be realistic. Setting an impossible target will only lead to frustration and burnout. If you currently save $200 a month, don't aim to save $30,000 in a year. The math simply doesn't work. Instead, set a target that challenges you but still feels achievable. Momentum builds motivation. Success is addictive once you taste it. Now, to make these goals tangible, break them into time horizons. Short-term goals, within 1 year. Build a small emergency fund, pay off a single credit card, start tracking expenses. Medium-term goals, 2 to 5 years. Save for a home down payment, pay off student loans, or build investment capital. Long-term goals, 10-plus years. retirement, financial independence, or generational wealth. Having multiple horizons lets you work on several fronts at once, protecting your present while building your future. And as you hit those short-term goals, the money you free up can be redirected toward the bigger ones. But even the best goals will fail without one essential system: a budget that works with your life, not against it. The truth is, most budgets fail because they're either too restrictive or too complicated. They feel like a financial diet, miserable, joyless, and impossible to stick to. But a great budget isn't about punishment. It's about permission. It's a plan for how you'll spend your money intentionally, not randomly. Think of your budget as a spending plan, a way to align your cash flow with your priorities. The goal isn't to cut every expense. It's to make sure your money is going toward the things that actually improve your life, not the things that quietly drain it. There are a few proven budgeting methods that fit different personalities. The 50-30-20 rule is simple. Spend 50% of your income on needs, 30% on wants, and 20% on savings and debt repayment. It's great for people who prefer simplicity. The zero-based budget is for those who want full control. Every dollar you earn gets a job, whether that's paying a bill, building savings, or investing for the future. Your income minus expenses equals zero, not because you spent everything, but because every dollar has a purpose. And for those who struggle with overspending, the envelope method still works wonders. Allocate cash or digital envelopes for categories like groceries, entertainment, and dining out. When it's gone, it's gone. It's simple, but it builds discipline fast. No matter which system you use, remember this: your budget should be sustainable. If it doesn't include some room for fun, it will fail. You can't live a lifetime on financial restriction. You need to enjoy the process too. The trick is to enjoy it intentionally. A great budget isn't one that looks perfect on paper. It's one you can actually live with and stick to for years. Start simple. Track your results, adjust when necessary, and stay flexible. Because the goal isn't to create the perfect plan. It's to create a system that keeps you moving forward. And now that we know how to control your income and expenses, it's time to protect what you build with smart saving strategies and debt management that actually work in real life. Let's be honest. Saving money is one of those things everyone knows they should do, yet almost nobody actually does it right. Most people think saving means just putting whatever's left at the end of the month into their bank account, which, let's face it, usually means nothing gets saved at all. But saving isn't about luck or leftover money. It's about strategy, consistency, and psychology. So let's start with the most underrated superhero of personal finance, the emergency fund. Think of it as your personal financial bodyguard. Boring, invisible, but absolutely essential when life decides to punch you in the face. The rule of thumb says you should save 3 to 6 months of expenses, but that's just a guideline. If your monthly expenses are $3,000, that means having between $9,000 and $18,000 stashed away. Not easy, but life-changing once you get there. Because here's the thing, emergencies aren't if, they're when. Your car breaks down, your roof leaks, your job disappears. Life doesn't care about your budget. And without an emergency fund, every unexpected event turns into new debt. You put the car repair on a credit card, you borrow from friends or family, and before you know it, you're paying 20% interest on something that's already fixed and forgotten. So if that full emergency fund feels impossible, start small. Even $25 a week adds up to $1,300 a year, enough to handle most small surprises without using debt. Treat that contribution like a mandatory bill. Automate it, forget it, and watch it grow. Because when that fund starts to build, something powerful happens psychologically. You stop feeling like life is constantly one bad day away from disaster. Now, where should that money actually live? Keep your emergency fund in a high-yield savings account, not your checking account where you might accidentally spend it, and definitely not the stock market where a crash could wipe it out just when you need it. Online banks often offer the best rates because they have lower costs and the money is still liquid, meaning you can access it fast. Once your emergency fund is in place, you can start focusing on your next battle, debt. Because debt is the silent killer of wealth. It doesn't just drain your money, it drains your motivation, your freedom, and your mental space. But before we talk about how to destroy it, you need to understand that not all debt is created equal. There's good debt, bad debt, and financially toxic debt. Good debt helps you build wealth or increase your earning power. like a mortgage on a home that appreciates in value or a student loan that leads to higher income. Bad debt is money you borrow for things that lose value. Car loans, for instance, since cars start depreciating the moment you drive them off the lot. But the worst kind, the financial poison, is high-interest consumer debt. We're talking payday loans, credit cards with 25% interest, or cash advances. Those are wealth destroyers. Here's the brutal math. If you have $5,000 in credit card debt at 20% interest and only make minimum payments, it'll take you over 30 years to pay it off, and you'll end up spending more than $15,000 total. That's 3 times the original amount. Meanwhile, if you'd invested that same $5,000 at an 8% return, it would have grown to nearly $50,000 in the same period. The difference? Knowledge and action. So how do you actually kill debt? There are 2 powerful methods: the debt snowball and the debt avalanche. The snowball method focuses on paying off your smallest debts first. Once a small one's gone, you roll that payment into the next one, creating momentum. It's psychologically powerful and keeps you motivated. The avalanche method, on the other hand, attacks your highest interest debts first. It saves you more money in the long run, but it can feel slower at the start. Both methods work. The key is consistency. Pick one, commit, and avoid taking on new debt while you're digging out. Because financial freedom isn't about paying everything off overnight. It's about reversing the direction of your money flow, turning interest payments into interest earnings. And once you've built your safety net and escaped the grip of bad debt, the next step is where the magic really begins, learning how to make your money work for you. Here's a truth that might surprise you. Not investing your money is actually one of the riskiest financial decisions you can make. Why? Because every dollar sitting idle in a savings account is quietly losing value to inflation. The price of everything, food, housing, energy, keeps rising, while your cash just sits there, slowly shrinking in purchasing power. The solution? You must learn to make your money work for you instead of you always working for it. Investing isn't gambling, and it's not reserved for the rich. It's simply the process of putting your money into something that grows over time. When you invest, you're buying a small piece of the economy, whether that's through stocks, bonds, or real estate. The goal is to earn returns that outpace inflation, building wealth while you sleep. The core of investing is a simple but powerful concept: compound interest, the engine of wealth. It means you earn returns not only on your original investment, but also on all the returns that have already accumulated. Over time, this growth becomes exponential. Let's look at an example. If you invest $100 a month, starting at age 25 with an average annual return of 8%, by age 65, you'll have over $700,000. But if you wait until 35 to start, you'll only have about $300,000. The difference? Just 10 years, and nearly $400,000 in lost potential. That's the cost of waiting. Time is the most valuable asset in investing, not the amount of money you start with. So where should you put your money? Forget the noise, forget the hot stocks. The simplest, most effective strategy for most people is low-cost index fund investing. An index fund tracks the performance of a broad market, like the S&P 500, which represents the 500 largest companies in America. Over decades, this index has averaged around 10% annual returns, surviving world wars, recessions, and financial crises. By investing in a total market or S&P 500 index fund, you're automatically diversifying your risk across hundreds of companies, which means you don't have to guess which stock will win. Even professional fund managers rarely outperform index funds over the long term, especially after accounting for their hefty fees. Your investment strategy should be boring, steady, predictable, and consistent. Exciting usually means risky. Real wealth is built quietly, through patience and discipline. The ones who get rich fast often lose it even faster. Now, what about market crashes? They're not a matter of if, they're a matter of when. And yes, during those times, your portfolio will drop in value, maybe by 20%, 30%, even 50%. But here's the paradox. For long-term investors, market crashes are sales. While everyone else is panicking, you're buying more shares at lower prices. When the market recovers, and it always has, those shares skyrocket in value. That's why successful investors don't time the market, they time in the market. They stay invested through the ups and downs, letting time and compounding do the work. As for where to invest, Start with your retirement accounts. If your employer offers a 401k with matching contributions, that's free money. Grab it. Then open an IRA or Roth IRA for additional tax advantages. With a traditional IRA, you get tax deductions now, but pay taxes later. With a Roth IRA, you pay taxes now, but your withdrawals in retirement are completely tax-free. For most young people, the Roth option is gold. If you've already maxed out those options or have long-term goals beyond retirement, like financial independence, open a taxable brokerage account. It offers flexibility and no withdrawal penalties, perfect for goals that sit between short-term savings and retirement. And if you want real estate exposure without the headaches of being a landlord, consider REITs, real estate investment trusts, funds that own income-generating properties and pay out regular dividends. The point is this: you don't need to be a financial genius or spend hours researching stocks. 3 or 4 diversified index funds, 1 U.S. total market, 1 international market, 1 bond fund, and maybe a REIT can cover almost everything. The secret isn't complexity, it's consistency. Automate your investments every month. Stick with your plan through every dip. Don't panic when everyone else is screaming, because true wealth isn't built by chasing trends, it's built by time, patience, and discipline. And once your money is growing steadily, the final step is to protect your freedom. Through smart retirement planning and a system that works automatically, even when your motivation fades. Let's talk about the ultimate reason behind all of this: freedom. Not just financial security, not just wealth on paper, but the ability to wake up every day and choose what to do with your life. That's what real wealth gives you. And the truth is, the sooner you start planning for it, the sooner you'll reach it. Retirement might sound like something far in the future, but it's really about options, not age. The more you save and invest now, the more flexibility you have later, whether that means quitting a toxic job, starting a business, or retiring early. Unfortunately, most people never get there because they underestimate how much they'll need, or how early they should start. According to recent data, the median retirement savings in America is only around 87 in. That's barely enough to cover a couple of years of expenses. And with the average Social Security check hovering around $1,800 per month, relying on that alone isn't a plan, it's a gamble. To maintain your current lifestyle in retirement, you'll likely need about 80% of your pre-retirement income. For someone earning $60,000 a year, that's $45,000 annually, meaning you'd need a nest egg between $550,000 and $700,000 to safely retire. That might sound intimidating, but here's the good news. It's absolutely achievable if you start early and stay consistent. Invest $300 a month at an 8% return from age 25, and you'll have over $80,000 by 65. Wait until 35, and that number drops to about $370,000. Wait until 45, around $150,000. Time, once again, is the secret ingredient, and it's the one thing you can't buy back. To make it easier, automate everything. Automate your savings, automate your investments, automate your debt payments. When money moves automatically from your checking account to your savings or investment accounts, you remove emotion from the process. You don't have to rely on willpower, because let's be honest, willpower fades. Systems don't. Track your progress, but not obsessively. Check your net worth quarterly, review your budget monthly, and glance at your investment accounts a few times a year, not every day. The goal is progress, not perfection. Your money should serve you, not stress you out. And finally, be patient. Building wealth is not about hitting the jackpot. It's about planting seeds. The first few years might feel slow, but compound growth is sneaky. It looks small until it suddenly explodes. One day, you'll look back and realize your money is doing more work than you are. That's the moment you transition from surviving to thriving. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about retiring rich. It's about living free. Free from debt, free from fear, free from being stuck in situations you hate because you can't afford to leave. Financial literacy isn't about greed, it's about freedom of choice. And if there's one thing you take away from this, let it be this. You don't need to be the smartest person in the room to become financially independent. You just need to start, stay consistent, and trust the process. The system works, if you do. This is Mike Compound reminding you, your financial future doesn't begin when you make more money. It begins when you start making better decisions with the money you already have.